For seconds, that's all it takes. You walk into a room. You haven't said a word yet, and every brain in that space has already ranked you, not consciously. Nobody's thinking about it. The decision happens underneath thought, in wiring that's older than language, older than money, older than the concept of a job title. And here's the part that stings. That ranking has almost nothing to do with what you thought it did. It's not your volume. It's not your posture. It's not your handshake. It's not the jacket. It's one thing. Whether your nervous system stays calm. When the pressure hits, that's it. That's the whole game. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to hand you the exact protocol high-status operators run to control that signal on purpose. There's a 3-second move at the start that flips the entire dynamic. I'll get to it. But first, you need to understand what's leaking out of you right now, without your permission. Watch what happens inside a person the second they feel evaluated. Their sympathetic nervous system fires. Instantly. No choice involved. Skin conductance rises. That means the palms start producing moisture at a level nobody can see. But the body knows. Pupils shift. Blink rate climbs. Then the small movements start. Behavioral scientists call them self-directed motor adapters. That's the clinical name. In plain English, it's the fidgeting people do to calm themselves down without admitting they need calming. Touching the collar, spinning the watch, rubbing the thumb across the fingers, reaching up to that little hollow at the base of the throat. That last one has a name, the suprasternal notch. And it's one of the loudest anxiety tells a human body can produce. Now here's the moment nobody's willing to sit with. Notice what your own hands are doing right now as you listen to this. Are you touching your face? Shifting your posture? Adjusting something? Tapping a finger? That is your nervous system leaking in real time. Feel that? Good. Keep noticing it. Because until you can catch it in yourself, you'll never control in a room. Now here's the number that should genuinely disturb you. In real high-stakes rooms, roughly 98% of low and mid-status people display something called a scanning reflex. The eyes flick, sideways, down, toward the door, rapid ocular saccades, hunting for validation, hunting for permission, hunting for an exit they'll never actually use. And underneath that, something worse is happening. Cortisol floods the system. The muscles around the larynx tighten, and the person swallows or clears their throat. Think about that throat clear. It isn't physical. Nothing's actually stuck in there. It's a cortisol signature. It's the body confessing, in a language older than speech, that this person doesn't feel safe. And everyone in that room is reading it. Nobody knows they're reading it, but they are, which means the opportunity is absurdly simple. Be the one who doesn't leak. You don't have to dominate a room full of dysregulated nervous systems. You just have to be the regulated one. The contrast does the rest. So let's build it. This first protocol takes 5 seconds, and it runs before you speak. It's called baseline disruption. 2 parts. Part 1 is the ocular freeze. You enter the interaction. Before a single word, you lock your gaze onto the other person's left eye. Not both eyes. Not sweeping back and forth. Because sweeping reads as searching, and searching reads as weak. One eye, the left one, 3 full seconds. And during those 3 seconds, your face does nothing. 0 activation. Specifically, you're suppressing one muscle, the zygomaticus major. That's the muscle that yanks your mouth corners upward into a reflex smile. Now understand what that smile actually is. It's not friendliness. Not in that moment. It's an appeasement display. It's a primate signal that means, please don't hurt me. It's gorgeous between friends. It's fatal in a status exchange. So you hold 3 seconds, no smile, and something measurable happens in the other person's body. Their skin conductance spikes. Their brain flags you as a high-priority stimulus that isn't signaling submission. The ranking just happened. Neither of you has spoken. Then you can smile, if you want to. But now it's a gift you're giving, not a tax you're paying. That's part 1. Part 2 is smaller. And honestly, it's more powerful. It's called a strategic latency delay. Someone finishes speaking. You wait 1.5 seconds before you respond. That's the whole technique. Sounds like nothing, right? It isn't nothing. Human conversation runs on a brutally tight rhythm. The average gap between one speaker stopping and the next starting is about 200 milliseconds. 0.2 of a second. We're so tuned to it that even a half-second pause registers as meaningful. So a full 1.5 seconds? That's a violation. And the other person's limbic system has to explain it. Here's the explanation it lands on. This person isn't in a hurry to be understood. This person has no urgency. This person doesn't need my approval fast enough to chase it. And the amygdala, which runs rank calculations in the background all day long, files that as evidence of security, of higher standing, because urgency is the tell. Always, people who need something speak fast. People with options speak whenever they feel like it. Now stack those two moves together, and something starts running on its own. It's called the dominance feedback loop. And once it starts, it feeds itself. Watch how it works. Their cortisol ticks up, just slightly. The unsmiling gaze did it. The broken rhythm did it. That cortisol produces behavior. They start over talking. They fill your silence with explanations nobody asked for. Their eyes start darting. They adjust a sleeve. They laugh in the wrong spot. And you meet all of it with the opposite. Slow blink. Downward inflection at the end of your sentences. Total stillness through the neck and shoulders. Their brain compares the two states. And it does not think they're running a technique on me. It thinks something far more useful to you. It thinks, they must know something I don't. Then the submissive behaviors arrive. Justification, approval seeking, agreement offered before you even asked, and the loop tightens. The more they leak, the calmer you look. The calmer you look, the more they leak. Now, let me hand you a different lens, because this next one makes everything click. Think about a conversation. Thermodynamically, every person in a room is either radiating energy or absorbing it. Low-status people radiate constantly. Fidgeting, shifting posture every few seconds. Fast speech, filler flooding, the endless does that make sense? None of that energy accomplishes anything. It's waste heat. It's a body burning fuel on nothing. The high-status anchor absorbs. Movement happens only with intent. Vocal power gets spent only when it buys something. Stillness isn't passivity. It's stored potential. And every brain in that room, running hierarchy software through the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, the motor cortex, and the facial nerve circuits, reaches the same conclusion. Anything that stays still under friction must have leveraged the situation can't touch. The moment that conclusion fires, three things happen inside the other person. All three are involuntary. First, motor cortex suppression. Their gestures shrink. Arms pull toward the torso. Shoulders round in. Their body physically takes up less space. They didn't decide that. Their motor system got down-regulated by a ranking they never noticed making. Second, vocal pitch adaptation. This one runs on something linguists call the frequency code. It's nearly universal. Across languages, across species. Low-frequency signals size and dominance. High-frequency signals smallness and harmlessness. So when someone senses they've lost leverage, their vocal cords tighten. Their fundamental frequency rises. Their voice climbs into a thinner, lighter, more agreeable register. Start listening for it. You'll hear it everywhere now. The second someone's pitch lifts mid-conversation, a status calculation just resolved. And it didn't resolve in their favor. Third, pacing entrainment. This is a full surrender. They start matching your rhythm. You slow down, they slow down. You leave gaps, they leave gaps. They've handed you time itself, which means you now control not just what gets discussed, but how fast reality is allowed to move. 3 shifts, all automatic, all triggered by stillness. Now stop. Before you try any of this in your next meeting, you need to know the single mistake that makes 90% of people look like fake tryhards instead of actual leaders. Because there's real authority. And there's the counterfeit. And the counterfeit is way more common than the real thing. Here is how you spot the fake version instantly. Start with the eyes. Real authority suppresses blink rate, 4 to 6 blinks a minute. Focus holds straight through the silences. Overcompensation does the opposite. Darting saccades. gaze dropping to the floor. Blink rate climbing past 30 a minute under pressure. Now the voice. Real authority drops the inflection at the end of a sentence. Steady pace, around 110 to 120 words a minute. Low fundamental frequency. Overcompensation tilts upward at the end. Every statement becomes a question asking for permission. Filler everywhere. Register jumping around. Now the neck and torso. Real authority turns as one piece. Head and shoulders rotate together toward whatever earns attention. Total cervical stillness while listening. Overcompensation nods rapidly while someone else talks. Jerks the head toward every random sound. Visible tension in the neck. Now the hands. Real authority keeps them low energy, near the center line of the body. Occasional palm down gestures. No fidgeting. Overcompensation touches the throat. Adjusts the collar. Spins the ring. Picks at the fingers. And finally, time. Real authority sits inside 3 to 5 seconds of dead silence without flinching. Speaks on its own schedule. Overcompensation fills every pause instantly. Overexplains its own reasoning. Talks fast specifically to avoid being interrupted, which quietly admits it expects to be. Read that list again later. You'll diagnose everyone you meet, including yourself. Now here's the one number that measures all of it. It comes from research by Ellyson and Dovidio. It's called the visual dominance ratio. Take the percentage of time you hold eye contact while you're speaking. Divide it by the percentage of time you hold eye contact while you're listening. That's your ratio. Low power people score below 0.80. Consistently, they stare intently while being spoken to. That's deference. That's the visual version of nodding. Then their turn comes, and the gaze breaks. They look up. They look at the table. Because speaking carries load, and load leaks. High-status operators invert it completely, 1.00 or higher. They look straight into the target while speaking. They deliver words directly into the eyes. And while listening, they let the gaze drift, not rudely, not obviously, just sometimes. And the message that sends is quietly brutal. My attention is scarce. Earn it. Flip your ratio. Just that one change moves how people read you more than any other physical variable you control. All right, theory's useless without live fire. And listen, this isn't just for boardrooms or multi-million-dollar deals. This applies when someone cuts you off at a dinner table, when an interviewer tries to corner you, when a stranger tests your boundaries in public, when your in-laws try to run a frame on you at Sunday lunch. Same nervous system, same rules, same protocol. Let's run 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, boardroom, you're mid-presentation. Someone cuts you off. Wait, let me stop you right there. That projection isn't realistic given current market conditions. The instinct? Stop instantly. Don't. Stopping mid-word signals shock. And shock tells everyone the hit landed. Instead, you finish the word you're on. Cleanly. Then you halt. Rotate your whole torso 15 degrees toward them. Head and shoulders as one unit. Hold silence. 2 full seconds. And raise one eyebrow. Not anger. Not defense. Clinical observation. The way a doctor looks at a strange lab result. Then you re-anchor. Mark. You're jumping ahead to phase 3 before we've locked phase 1. Hold that thought. You'll get your turn. 3 separate weapons just fired in that sentence. Weapon 1, name inversion. Using their first name alone as a standalone address. Drops their standing in the room. It's what a teacher does. Everyone feels it. Weapon 2, temporal boundary control. Hold that thought claims ownership of the conversational cue. You're not arguing content. You're deciding when content is allowed in. Weapon 3, subordination framing. You'll get your turn reclassifies them as someone waiting on your permission. And if they push again, palm down hand. Waist height, a micro stop. Drop your volume by about 20%, so the whole room has to lean toward you. Then flat. I'm speaking. Give it 30 seconds. Going quieter under attack feels wrong. That's why it works. Raising your volume says you're scared of not being heard. Lowering it says being heard is a problem, not yours. Scenario 2 is harder, And the mistake here costs money. High-stakes negotiation. They lean back, arms folded. This number is completely off base for us. We might be done here. Then silence. Cold silence. That silence is bait. It's engineered to trigger compliance panic. And the panic response is always the same. Defend the price. Justify the value. Or the worst one, concede before anyone asks you to. You do none of it. You mirror the lean back. Match their spacing. Leaning in reads as pursuit, and pursuit reads as need. Tilt your head slightly. That signals curiosity, not concern. Then you drop a tactical label. It sounds like you've already reached your absolute ceiling on this project. Look at what that does. You didn't offend your number. You didn't reveal your floor. You assigned a limitation to them. Now their ego has a choice. Admit they can't afford it, or defend their capacity to proceed. Almost everyone defends. And defending means negotiating against themselves. But say they hold. Say they answer, yes, we have. Now here's the move most people never have the nerve to make. You keep your face completely still. You slowly close your materials. And you say, understood. Let's wrap it up here then. So neither of us wastes any more time today. That flips loss aversion. Until that second, the risk of losing the deal was sitting on your side of the table. Now it's sitting on theirs. And loss hurts roughly twice as much as gain feels good. You just handed them the pain. Now there's one more layer, and it's the one that separates people who use tactics from people who can't be touched by them. Everything you say enters the other person's brain in a sequence. It hits the primitive limbic structures first. Some people call it the crocodile brain. That filter runs 3 crude checks. Is this a threat? Is this new? Is this worth burning energy on? If your signals read as supplicant or predictable or over-explained, the filter kills it. Reject it as low value. It never reaches a neocortex, where actual persuasion lives. That's why brilliant arguments from low-status speakers just die in the room. The content was never evaluated. It got screened out before evaluation started. So to pass that filter, you need high-status nonverbals plus genuine unpredictability, light defiance, real-time constraints, prizing, which means making them qualify for you instead of the other way around. Novelty forces the croc brain to pass the interaction upstairs. And only then does anything you say begin to matter, which leaves one last problem. What happens when the other person is running all of this on you? Matching them signal for signal just creates a stalemate. 2 statues staring at each other. So you don't match. You break the frame entirely. It's called metaframe disruption. 3 steps. Observe. Identify the exact move they're making. Isolate. Refuse the surface topic completely. Don't argue the content. Verbalize. Say the tactic out loud. Calm, low, unhurried. The voice of a late-night radio host at 2 in the morning. Like this. David, you're using tactical silence right now to see if I'll renegotiate against myself. It's a clean play, but it won't alter the terms. What's the real bottleneck on your end? 2 things just detonated. 1. Covert influence depends entirely on staying below conscious awareness. Naming out loud destroys it instantly. You can't run a hidden play once it's been announced. 2. Delivering that with 0 anger, 0 frustration, 0 anxiety proves you're immune to leverage. You just went from participant to strategist in 1 sentence. So let's bring it home. Power in a room isn't volume. It isn't aggression, and it definitely isn't taking up space. It is regulation. It's the ability to sit inside friction without leaking a single watt of energy. Kill the fidgeting. Govern your own arousal. Delete the self-soothing. Run the 5-second baseline disruption when you walk in. Hold the left eye for 3. Wait the 1.5 seconds before you answer. Keep your visual dominance ratio at 1.00 or higher. Sit in silences longer than feels comfortable, especially then. And when somebody tries to work you, stop debating the surface. Name the structure. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You just need to be the calmest nervous system in it. Because in every group of humans that's ever existed, the one who isn't afraid becomes a reference point for everyone who is. Now go find a room. Run the 3-second freeze and watch how quickly the space around you changes.